everyone, do you remember the story of Ayla the cave girl? She lived in the Stone Age and had to find food and shelter in the wilderness. Now I told you how Ayla had found a baby horse, a foal, and raised it until it was old enough, and it grew up thinking that she was its family. Then Ayla had the idea to use the horse to help her pull things, and she built a harness for it so it could help her travel further and further away. Now, today I want to tell you a story about Ayla's great-great-grandson, Teka. Teka's family had decided that they were tired of always moving around, tired of having to find a new cave every time their one was damaged or got too cold. They had been walking for days and days and days, and they had found the perfect place. It was right near a river, and birds circled nearby cliffs so they could go and get eggs. The river was full of fish, and it was slow enough to even swim in. There was also a small forest nearby, with lots of trees for firewood and for making spears, as well as being home to plenty of small animals for the young men to hunt. One of the men was excited and showed the others that just a few miles away there was evidence of a trail of something big. It looked like part of the path that mammoths used to migrate. It really seemed like a perfect spot for them to live. The only problem was that the only cave nearby in the cliff was tiny, far too small for their whole group. Luckily, one of Teka's uncles had been on a journey. He had traveled far, far away and met some people who made their homes out of wood and mammoth bones. He helped show the others how to build a structure like that outside the cave, so there was a big enough space to live. It was a beautiful home that they had made themselves. They didn't have to go and find a cave that was big enough. They could make a home in the perfect place that they wanted. Teka and his family were very, very happy there. Now one day, Teka and his brother Ang were hunting in the woods. They were still young and were only allowed to hunt small animals. They couldn't wait to be old enough to go on their first mammoth hunt. Teka was hoping to be able to kill a small deer or something that would really make his father proud and feed his whole family. Suddenly, there was a rustling in the bush nearby. Teka signaled to Ang to freeze, and he crept slowly around to the other side of the bush. As he raised his spear, a bush pig squealed, and Teka threw his spear into the bush, thinking he would get a nice big bush pig to take home for his family. But the pig came running out of the bush. Oh no, he had missed! He hoped his spear wasn't broken. It had taken him a long time to make and was one of his favorites. Teka strode to the bush to pick up his spear, and as he reached into the bush, he heard a whining noise. He froze and looked down. His spear had missed the bush pig, but it had hit a wolf that had been hunting the pig. It was a female wolf, but she was very thin and weak. He felt sorry for her as she looked so sick and sad. Ang came round the bush, open-mouthed, and said, "Wow, Teka, you killed a wolf. That's amazing." Yes, it was, thought Teka, but he was still feeling a bit bad for the she-wolf. I wonder why she was so thin, Teka asked. Oh, she probably had pups somewhere. But it looks like she's not part of a pack, so there's no other wolves to help her feed them. Pups, thought Teka. I wonder where they are. He spotted the trail the wolf had made to reach the bush and started to follow it. What are you doing? Asked Ang. I just want to see how many pups she has. Ang shrugged, used to his brother's crazy ideas. Teka followed the trail to the wolf's den and found it. But as he went closer, he heard a small growl. He looked carefully right at the back of the den, and he saw a tiny pup, the tiniest little pup, whose mother probably didn't have enough food to feed it. He was hiding and growling at the back of the den. Teka was amazed that the small wolf had survived and thought it must have great courage to growl at something much bigger than it like Teka. Teka thought for a moment and then got a small piece of dried meat from his bag. Holding it lightly, he put his hand into the den. The pup growled louder and then snatched the piece of meat. Teka felt relieved. At least he'd given the pup some food. He turned to go, wondering how the pup would survive, only to see the pup sticking its head out of the den and looking for more food. Teka laughed and gave him another piece of meat. He would have to go hungry till dinner, but the wolf needed it more. Ang was staring at him but didn't say anything in case he scared the pup and it bit them. Teka and Ang started the walk home, and Teka was amazed as the wolf pup started to follow them for a few minutes. But then it got scared and started to walk back to the den. Teka made a plan, and from that day he went every single day to the den and gave the pup a bit of food. He didn't tell the others what he was doing, and he made Ang promise not to tell anyone about the wolf. They couldn't eat it anyway, he said, as it wouldn't taste nice. Ang agreed, surprised that Teka didn't want everyone to praise him for killing a wolf, but he trusted his brother. Every day that Teka snuck out to the den, the pup came a bit closer and closer and followed him home a little bit further. Eventually he could stroke the wolf and even pick it up. But one day Teka went to the den and found that the pup wasn't there. He walked around and tried calling it and searching for tracks. Then he heard its whimper. The pup had fallen into one of the snares that he'd put in the forest to trap rabbits and other small animals. Its leg was stuck. Teka freed it, but saw that it had a cut on its leg. He gave the pup some meat and then picked it up. Carrying it was hard as the pup was growing big, but Teka was determined. He carried it to his home, but stopped before he got there. He wasn't sure what people would say. So he got some big leaves and put them over his arms so people couldn't see the wolf. And then he rushed in and hid it under the skins on his straw bed. Then Teka remembered when one of his cousins had gotten caught in a snare, the medicine woman had used herbs to heal the wound. He went to find her and asked her which herbs to use, pretending that his brother had been caught, because he didn't want others to know. The medicine woman was surprised and a bit suspicious. She thought he might be lying, but she didn't see what he could be up to, so she gave him the herbs. She decided to check on him later to see what had happened. Teka rushed back and put the herbs on the pup's leg, and then wrapped it with a thin piece of skin. Teka gave the pup some more food and then stroked it as it fell asleep. Soon the long walk had caught up with him and Teka yawned. Putting his head on the pup's warm fur, he fell fast asleep. Teka was woken by a loud shout. The medicine woman had come to see him, and his mother had just gone home from collecting food. They saw Teka lying there with a wolf and were terrified for him. Teka's dad and some of the other men who had returned from a hunt rushed to see what was wrong. Teka sat up quickly and explained that it was all right. The wolf was his friend. The others were shocked and thought he had gone mad. Wolves are hunters, they explained, wild animals, not people. Look, said Teka, and he showed them how he could stroke the wolf. But the pup was scared of all these people and started growling. It's not safe, we must kill it, one of the men said. The others agreed. No, Teka cried, I'll take it back to the woods. His father saw how upset he was and agreed. I'll take the boy and let the wolf go back to its pack. Teka got up and picked up the pup and followed his father sadly. He doesn't have a pack, he explained the story to his father. Well, he cannot live with you, he's a wild animal. Also, we'd then have to feed him and he would do nothing. We all have to work for our food. Teka hung his head and followed his father. As they walked through the woods to the den, Teka told his father all about the funny tricks the pup could do, like jumping up and barking when he wanted food. His father smiled a bit, but was determined to release the wolf. They couldn't keep an animal that was just for fun. When they got to the den, Teka put the wolf down and said goodbye. But as he turned away, the pup started growling. See, it's wild, his father said. Teka was very sad and turned to see why the pup was growling at him. As he turned, he saw the pup jump and attack. It sprang past him and landed on a snake that had just been about to bite Teka. His father had a spear out, had been going to stop the wolf, but then he saw the snake and stabbed it. The pup sat down and wagged its tail happily, waiting for some food. Teka was stunned and quickly gave the pup some meat and a big hug. It saved your life, his father said, amazed. Teka looked up at his father and smiled. Please, can I keep him? He can protect the people and I'll look after him. His father smiled and said yes, although he knew the others would think he was crazy now for keeping a wolf in their place. From that day on, Teka and his wolf were always together and had many adventures. The wolf grew big and saved people many times because he thought they were his pack. From the time he barked and stopped Teka's aunt from stepping on a poisonous lizard to the time he jumped into the river and pulled out a small child that had fallen in, all the people were happy to have him and happy to give him scraps of food. Little did Teka know that he would start a tradition that other people would also want animals. And years and centuries and thousands of years later, people would still have animals to protect them in their homes.